Ladies and gentlemen, we have been playing a track called Freak by the lovely Daisy La Fontaine. Daisy, you're in Los Angeles, aren't you?
I am.
And what got you into the whole sort of that music scene? I mean, what would you call it? It's I don't know how to describe it. What would you call it?
I call it Electro Swing. That tends to be like the overarching genre, but I tend to bring in a lot of other influences. I try to kind of push the boundaries of that genre. And it's been certainly a journey to get here, right? Of course, as always. I grew up playing classical piano. I've been a pop singer-songwriter for a long time. I've always loved jazz. I've been playing jazz. And I have been working with a company. I started working with a company called Lost Spirits Distillery. They are like kind of a cult. They have like a cult-like following for being this incredible acrobatic show. And I was playing jazz there, and they said, we need a song for a commercial. Can you make us something? And I made my first track, which was Bijou Bisou, and I loved it so much. And I was like, this is so fun. It's combining all the fun things I love, combining jazz, combining EDM, combining pop, and being able to say fun things and do fun things all in one song was just so great that I have been running with it and loving it ever since.
That is one thing, isn't it? It is a great fun type of music. As you say, it sort of got its roots in jazz, I guess, and the sort of roaring 20s and all that sort of thing. But it is still very modern in the way it's presented.
Yeah, it's always a balance, I find, when I'm working with producers to try to find the right way to balance the track, right? Because it certainly needs to sound vintage and have that vintage influence, but it also needs to have a great bass and a great drum track that makes it feel very modern. And then also I like to play with the lyrics too, to make the lyrics something that are modern but still sound like they could have been vintage.
So you actually write the song yourself as well as performing it and also writing the music, yeah?
Yes, exactly. Yep.
So where do you take your inspiration from? I mean, once again, it's a very sort of different medium to work with. Do you find your inspiration comes quite easily?
It does in some ways, yeah, because, I think because I grew up playing classical music and being a huge jazz lover, I have so much of these kind of melodies in my head already, these very kind of classical or vintage or old school kind of melodies in my head. And I listen to a ton of jazz. I'm a huge Thelonious Monk fan. I take jazz piano lessons, do different things like that really root me in the tradition of it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I love modern music and listen to a lot of modern music and write modern music. So it's so fun to be able to combine them. That's the inspiration really, is how do I combine them in a way that's interesting and new.
Right. Now, the other thing is, of course, the visual part of it. You've got to perform these songs. And visually, from the look of the pictures I've got here on your website, you certainly go for it, don't you? They're stunning pictures, stunning outfits.
Well, that's right. I should have mentioned, too, and my inspiration was Lost Spirits Distillery. They're this incredible, like I said, this show in Vegas, and a lot of the sets that you see in those pictures are from Lost Spirits Distillery. So unfortunately they recently closed, and we had this Irish wake for them basically for the last performances, and because it brought together so many people who loved it. But really that's a lot of the visual influences I've gotten have been from living at Lost Spirits for so long and living in this magical fantasy land that looks like Victorian England in times or 20s and different influences like that.
It's a very elegant time, or it was a very elegant time, and of course the fashions once again reflect that. I bet you had a lot of fun sort of getting the clothes together for it.
So much fun. Yeah, it's actually, because it's tough to find these days those kind of clothes, and a lot of my friends are burlesque dancers, and burlesque dancers, they create their own outfits a lot of times. One of my friends is this incredible vintage collector, so it's certainly talking to them and figuring out where do we get these fun outfits from? How do we create them? It's one of the very fun sides of the job, that is for sure.
I mean, in the UK, there is quite a big following for Electro Swing. There are vintage shops, quite a few vintage shops, where you can get the fashions. But I just wondered, you were just saying there, it's not so easy in the States, I guess.
It doesn't feel like it. It feels like I have to work a little bit harder for than I would for other types of fashion. I don't think Electro Swing quite has the following it does here as it does in Europe or in different parts of the world. So kind of have to find the shop, find the couple places that have it. But yes, I don't think it's that robust, or it could be more robust, but it is at the same time, a very strong scene for the folks who are in it already, right? Like, people are in it, they're very committed to it, and it's so fun to see.
And of course, certain artists pick up on this from time to time. Mainstream artists, like I think Meghan Trainor has a tune which is very much influenced by Electro Swing, and Bruno Mars did not so long ago. It's starting to break through, do you think?
I think there's a resurgence of organic instruments all across music. So I think especially Meghan Trainor, Bruno Mars, they're using a lot of horns especially. And I think those real horns, our ears are getting better at I think, noticing when it's a real person playing it, or it feels real. I think sometimes it's not real people playing it. In all my tracks, I have a real horn player, Joe Rodwell, who's amazing, who plays on a lot of my tracks. But I think we as listeners crave the balance of the organic sounds with the electronic sounds that we also like.
So when you play live, do you have to have live musicians with you, or is it a lot of backing tracks and things?
That's one of the things I'm working on, to be honest, is figuring out how I can play this live and where I can play it live, because I think I'm just working on building my audience here in the U.S. or maybe going to Europe to perform live, and I would definitely have to use, I think the genre and the songs would be, I could certainly play it, sing it to the track, but it'd be so great to at least have some horn players, something along with it so that it really feels organic, because it's about the track too. Yes, it's about my voice and always about the vocalist and the lyrics and the melody, sure, but the track plays such a huge part in these songs that I think it's so important to have a band that's part of it that we can all play off of. I mean, that's one of the things that I'm really working on, because it would be so much fun to be able to do that with these songs.
Absolutely. The track that we've been playing, Freak, is that from an album?
Well, these days, it's funny, I keep writing essentially little singles that they're all kind of standalone singles. So I do find that all my singles you can often combine and would be able to be part of an album. I have another song coming out on May 31. We're in March. On May 31 on Electro Swing Records. It's called Chemistry, and it's going to be kind of a similar sound to Freak, and so I think they'll definitely could go together, but they're technically separate singles.
Do you think this is the way to go? I mean, with the way that the music industry is nowadays, and using the internet to just sort of create individual songs and let people make their own albums out of them?
Yeah, I think that's what happens, right? Everyone has their playlist. I mean, so few people listen to full albums anymore. And I think for some of the bigger artists, like the really big artists, the Taylor Swift of the world, they get to put together an album and people listen from start to finish. But I think for a lot of other artists, we put together sometimes an EP, 3-5 songs, or sometimes just singles, and then our fans put it together the way they want to, and that's kind of fun too. I mean, it's nice to have that kind of control as a fan, to be able to create the album you would want to see.
Do you think that, or do you find your image, Daisy La Fontaine, is an easy one to maintain. Once again, I'm not thinking just of the fashion, but the whole sort of persona. I mean, it's a great name, it's a great look, it's a great sort of atmosphere. Do you enjoy that?
I do, and I think that's why I keep bringing up Lost Spirits, because for so long I kind of lived there, right? I'd be there multiple nights a week, and so it is, when I'm living in that world, it's super easy to maintain that, and it's so fun to be part of that world. I also live in Los Angeles, where, you know, it's a little bit different there, and I don't always dress like Daisy when I'm out in Los Angeles, but I miss it, right? And I think, oh, got to pull out those sequins. Why not? It's Tuesday. So, you know, it's a balance.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously work clubs and places like that at the moment. And when you go there, then obviously you have to be that character. And it's like I guess it's like so many other artists. You have a persona, you have a character that you create. And when you're on stage, that's you, that's your character.
Yeah, the thing I found for me is I like to, for sure, I have a character that I create for Daisy, but I find it's just a amped up version of me, right? Like I like it to be it's the fun, playful side. It's the part that loves this kind of music, that loves vintage things, that loves to have fun and be in clubs and sing along to this kind of music. So I just amp up that aspect of my personality as much as I can when I'm on stage or when I'm at all in that space, or when I'm writing, to be honest, too.
You see that
all the time. Yeah.
You've just answered my next question, which was how much of you is in Daisy?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
I said you've just answered my next question, which is how much of you is in Daisy, or how much of Daisy is in you, whichever way around. Yeah. But you kind of answered that.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's more fun. It's fun that way, you know?
When you're writing, do you find that you are the sort of person that has to be in a specific place at a specific time, or is it just one of these things that something random will trigger a song in you?
Oh, it depends. For the most part, something random will trigger a song in me. This actually happened just a couple weeks ago. I was working on a track with a new producer. His name is Max, and it was funny. It was a track that we had one line to, like a totally one different song, and all of a sudden I started hearing this super separate song. It's called Radioactive. You'll get to hear it in the next couple months. And it was like I had this word radioactive got stuck in my head, and then I was thinking, oh, what else is radioactive, and thinking about what that could mean, and what it's like to be with someone who's pretty toxic and radioactive. And it was a Sunday morning. I remember my aunt and uncle were visiting. They were sitting out here in my kitchen, and I was back in my bedroom thinking, oh, and I started just jotting things down. So certainly inspiration strikes, and that's the best when that happens. But I also certainly will intentionally sit down on a Thursday and say, okay, now I'm going to finish this song or start a new song or that kind of thing.
Do you enjoy writing with other people, or is it a very personal thing for you?
I like a combination, to be honest with you. I love working with other people, and I find my best work tends to happen when I'm with other people and get inspired by other people, because another person, honestly, no matter their skill level or their genre or anything like that, it always inspires a new way of looking at the song, and it helps me kind of take a step outside myself so that I can look at what I'm writing in a different way. And so I always find that to be super inspirational. But at the same time, you know, like Freak was composed totally on my own. I gave that to the producer to create the track around it. And Freak was something that I actually wrote that song a while ago, and it was something that felt very, very, very emotional, and it was kind of one of those tracks that I didn't know if it was ever going to become a real song. I just was playing around the piano and wrote that chorus thinking like, oh God, this is what this feels like. And so that's something that when I'm so kind of vulnerable and emotional about it, it's really hard to do that with other people for me. I mean, I can do some of that, but not quite to that level.
Okay. Just one more question. Okay, just one more question.
Yeah.
Do you want to try and bring this whole sort of show, because this is what I can see it being, on the road to, say, Europe or just around the States or something like that?
100%. And that's where I'm working on building up my catalog as much as possible, putting in a few fun covers, figuring out who I can travel with and how that could work. That's 100% in my written down on my vision board, my to-do list. That would be so much fun.
Okay. Daisy La Fontaine, thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it. It's been great fun talking to you. And it's great fun playing your music as well. So we'll play Freak again, and we'll look forward to Chemistry when that comes out.
I so appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you all for listening. And I really appreciate the love that you give all of us musicians. So thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Thanks, and goodbye for now. Was that okay for you, Daisy?
That was fantastic. Oh my God, thank you so much. I hope it was what you wanted as well. It was fantastic for me.
Good. No, as long as you're happy. As I said, I think that goes out of 9 radio stations, 5 in the UK, 4 in Spain, both southern Spain and northern Spain. And it should go out in about 2 weeks' time, I think, maybe 3 weeks' time. But I'll let you know before it goes out.
Yeah, great. Is there a link where I can hear it and I can promote it on socials and do all that?
Absolutely.
I can tell Wolfgang, too, from Electro Swing thing.
I'll tell you.
So could promote that.
I'll send you a whole list of the stations that broadcast it and the times and days. Okay?
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
Okay. Take care, Daisy. And once again, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
You too. Have a great day. Bye-bye.